Probably not, but it works. The
power of friendship for real, man. Orcs sound funny as hell. Orcs sound dope as fuck.
Yo, if we get to 100,000 subscribers by the time the year is over, I will shave my beard off and wear no do-rag for 3 entire months.
It's time to get back into part 2 of every single Warhammer 40k faction explained. If you guys are new here and you guys missed it, I reacted to the first, part 1 video. It's up here and you guys showed a lot of love and I appreciate you guys so much. It's been an amazing journey so far getting into the world that is Warhammer 40k, the vast lore that is Warhammer 40k. Let me know down in the comment section what else kind of videos I should check out. Maybe some other Warhammer creators, but I ain't gonna lie. I'm rocking with Bricky right now, man. Bricky's dropping some great videos. I like the way how he delivers information for me, you know? So maybe some more Bricky videos. I'll be down. But yeah, Warhammer Faction Explained Part 2. Let's get right into it. Right back.
Two-part series on
which I'm assuming is the other like monster. Well, yeah, like everybody that's not like Space Marines. Or, yeah.
And I would highly recommend you watch that to get context for this episode. If you already have, go ahead and keep on watching. So after an entire episode of nothing but humans, we can now talk about chaos.
Humans.
Which
chaos!
Again.
Wait, what?
A little bit less. We also got demons.
Yeah, demons!
Someone grab my ass.
What?
Like hard, Nick.
So,
wait,
as
what the
I
hell?
mentioned many times before, we've discussed the warp, the immaterium, the hellish landscape, the purgatory dimension realm between the material realm of our existence. Now, in the warp, it's terrifying.
Yeah,
horrible.
so we're diving into the warp
Things are
now.
crazy. All your minds and thoughts and emotions get projected there. It is both formless.
I wonder if there was some character I was playing in Total War that was part of the Chaos faction. His name started with an A, I think. That was the one I was using a lot, or started to use a lot. I never got to like finish any Total War playthrough. I would get dogged. But yeah, you know, his name started with an A, I think.
Vast and tiny. It
maybe it will
obeys
be mentioned.
The laws of time and physics, while simultaneously does absolutely nothing of the sort. It is a hodgepodge and a culmination of just unknowable, eldritch, horrifying shit. And there are 4 gods that permeate in chaos and the warp. These are the 4 major chaos gods. And if we wish to learn about chaos, we need to learn about each and every single one of these chaos gods.
Yeah, I can't wait to learn about her.
And he is the easiest.
Shorty with the dick.
Is your classic Satan. He is all about anger, murder, fighting, blood,
straight to it.
Death. You ever heard the term blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne? That's Korn. The whole idea
That's kind of fire.
is that
I never heard of this
he is
thing.
all about the fury and strength of battle. He doesn't care where blood comes from so long as blood is flowing. He wants to fight and murder and carnage and slaughter and death. That is Korn. Very simple to understand. Next up you have Tzeentch, and Tzeentch is the god of
Tzeentch is weird, man. Tzeentch is really weird. Probably like at the bottom of my list, maybe.
change. However, the god of change
the chaos factions
permeates in so many different other ways. He's the most
maybe this video will change
all
that.
the demon
yeah,
gods.
change that for me.
He has this weird way to always be plucking at the strings of the universe. He's always conniving and scheming and doing his best to cause as much little bullshit as he can. Tzeentch is unknowable. Everything that makes sense, he will and won't do. Every future and setting and every type of destiny or fate is all foretold and also changeable. It is set in stone while also completely random. He knows what everything is going to happen and also that none of it's going to happen. You would ask Tzeentch a question. That question leads to 3 more questions. And those questions lead to the heat death of the universe, which asks 4 answers to those questions. And then he thinks to himself, what are questions even really? And are you even asking the questions?
It's so weird.
Or are you simply giving paths to answers and other horse shit? Tzeentch is just stuff. He is yes and he is no. He is the understanding and he is complexity. He is unknowable. And that's what the god of change is about. Very bizarre. And he likes birds.
Yeah, birds. I was about to say, I was like, I remember it being like something like a bird in Total War Warhammer 3. Like, it's like a bird thingy.
I don't know why. Next up, we got Papa Nurgle. Papa Nurgle,
big
he loves
stinky
you for who
Nurgle.
you are. Probably not. He will murder you just the same. But Papa Nurgle is about rot, pestilence, death, and decay. He is the end of everything. Him and
Disease?
Zeech do not like each other very much because where Zeech represents change and adjustment, Nurgle represents stagnation and death. He is all about miasma and pestilence and large bloat and pus and organs.
Disgusting.
And people just being
Absolute
sedentary,
disgusting.
sloth. He is the idea that everything will rot and decay and die. Nothing is certain besides decay and death. All of us will end up the same way. Broken down through just sheer never-ending decomposition.
I feel
so
that.
the joke that Nurgle always loves you is generally because of that.
That dude don't got no
because we
nipples,
all
bro. His
end
nipples
up
is torn off.
The same. We all rot and we all die and wither. That's Nurgle, and he's got a general theme of course, pestilence and different kinds of diseases and sickness and things of that nature. That's generally Nurgle. He's pretty easy to understand.
Asmongold's father.
He chunk. Finally, we have the youngest of the Chaos Gods, and that is Slaanesh.
Yeah, let's get an explanation here. When she was pulled up in the first Bricky video we saw, it was an image of her with a cock. I swear. I don't know. It looked exactly like a cock. Does Slaanesh have a cock?
Also known as the Prince of Pleasure or the God of Unspeakable Excess.
Okay.
Slaanesh is
She got a
generally
cock.
referred to with sex, but it's
Okay.
not only sex. It's just that's a good
Nice.
avenue if you want to make stuff. Slaanesh is just the idea of
Nice.
the senses of the body being cranked to not just 11, but more like 17. See, we'll discuss Slaanesh a little bit more when we talk about the Eldar because they done fucked up. But
the Eldar is
she-
connected to Slaanesh?
They it or whatever is mainly about just the excess of emotions, and therefore sex is generally a large part of it.
Tongue with a
However, it's
spikes on it?
mostly pain and torture. Lots of pain,
mean-
torture, but sometimes sexually related or drug related. Lots of drugs.
Lots of drugs?
Slaanesh
Oh,
gets
hell yeah.
off on everything. Extremes in happiness, extremes in sadness, extremes in pain and sadism and masochism. And of course, that goes along with the sex part of it as well. It's generally referred to with sex because of the color scheme, very purple, lots of exposed genitalia. A lot of their models have like, exposed nipples and stuff. And that is generally the theme you go for from a physical side, but it really embodies everything, mainly pain and also the excessive amounts of emotion. So when it comes down to it, you'll find a lot of them have things like spikes or whips or any kind of BDSM style gear because it is unspeakable excess, the Prince of Pleasure, everything in excess to the point where it is just sheer frightening. That is Slaanesh in a nutshell. A little bit bizarre and a little hard to describe sometimes, but as we talk more about the Dark Eldar layer in this video, you'll understand it far.
Now I'm curious. I want to load up Total War Warhammer and see, like, I guess, like, every single character in the Slaanesh faction, yeah.
Far better and far more than
See what they look like.
They might be thinking, why would anyone ever want to join Chaos? They all look horrifying, screwed up, and just frightening things, right? Well, the thing is that, of course, one, your mind is put into the warp and the Immaterium, so you can be easily swayed by Chaos demons when they get into your head, especially if you're a psyker. Sometimes regiments of the less mentally strong people, whether they be civilians or, say, low-level guardsmen or conscripts, can be easily swayed by this and become Chaos cultists and stuff, and they serve their dark gods and whatever god they personally prefer. However, and this might seem strange, Chaos in their own right isn't necessarily evil. See, the warp is every manifestation of emotion and being, every soul, everything of existence. This includes all the good things. All the different Chaos gods have another side to their coin. Khorne might be death, murder, slaughter, slaughter,
I'm
but he's
curious.
also got this weird sense of survival of the fittest, trial by combat, and honor. Khorne will never...
Oh. Okay, that makes sense. I was about to say, what would be like the other side of Khorne, which is just straight, you know, death, war, and stuff. I guess,
lie to you. Khorne will never stab you in the back. Khorne isn't about conniving and scheming. Khorne is about
Okay, so what about
straight up
Slaanesh?
Mono, you versus
Maybe
me.
change? I
Get
don't
in
know.
the ring. We're gonna murder each other hard right now. It may not be a good thing at the end of the day, but it is that other side of the
Straightforward,
coin.
yeah.
Him and Zeech generally don't
Oh,
get
Zeech, I
along
meant.
because Zeech
Zeech,
is that
yeah.
conniving schemer, but he's also about the idea of hope. Where there's change, there's change for your predicament. There's
changing
change
for
for
the
your
better.
problem. The hope of the galaxy, the ability to bend the world to your will, the idea that your fate is not set in stone, but in reality that you control your own destiny and can control it whenever you want. The changer of ways. That is Tzeentch. And of course, Tzeentch and Nurgle hate each other because while Nurgle does represent stagnation, death, and decay, he also represents finality and ending. The fact that you can be mentally at peace knowing that you will end and how you will end. Fear of the unknown, fear of change is not present with Nurgle. With Nurgle, everything will rot and die, and that provides that finality, that ability that this is over. We are all the same, and we will all end the same. We know the meaning of life. The meaning of life is to live and die and rot. And with that, it brings peace of mind. Slaanesh is a lot more simple.
Well, yeah. Pleasure. Could bust a nut. You know what I'm saying? I get it.
They are the excess of emotion. They are also the representation of emotion. Slaanesh embodies happiness. Slaanesh embodies excitement and joy and pleasure.
Passion.
Not only in the sense of the physical, you know, bam style of pleasure, but also everything else like food and drink and air on your cheek and sunlight, the feeling, emotion and feeling. All of that is also represented with Slaanesh.
Which one are y'all choosing? You know, I think I might be a Slaanesh kind of guy myself.
So you have to ask, why are they always represented as super evil skulls and spikes on everything and want to murder everybody? I don't really got an answer for you on that one. My assumption is that because mentally humans may think worse thoughts even if we don't act on them, and therefore they're projected in the warp more. That one's a little bit weird. I don't know. This is me spitballing right now, but I don't know. You need a super bad guy. You already got the Imperium of Man. You need
oh man, I'm curious on how much the tabletop set for like chaos demons. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, it does look dope.
So combining all this
fuck. See, that's what I want to see. Look at that shit. See, this shit looks dope as fuck. This is more so me. Space Marines look dope as shit too, though, but these just look more unique and different and freaky looking. I like it.
Chaos demons are generally very melee based. They run in, go really hard. You have lots of summoning and conjuring, tons of spells. Generally a little bit frail, but they have special saves to make them a little bit stronger. You've got giant demons and smaller demons.
Look at that
hordes
shit.
of little boys and tons of big guys. Demons are as they seem. Demons. Nurgle is slow. Khorne is super scary in melee. You've got Tzeentch, who are far more into psychers and spellcasting, and then Slaanesh, who is all melee, really fast.
They look
squishy,
dope.
But in lots of hordes of tons of melee and pain.
That's
damage,
whip,
of course. So overall, the demons are
the fifth faction he doesn't mention.
40K.
Wait, what's the fifth faction? Is the fifth faction maybe the one that I have in mind? Thinking of in Total War Warhammer. What's the fifth faction? Maybe he will mention it.
A massive threat to almost every single faction, with the exception of a couple. However, the big part about demons is also transferred into the other 9 Primarchs we didn't talk about, which are the
Space Marines. Yeah. Astartes.
So Horus and all of his boys.
Yeah, Horus started
all
that
of them
shit.
The Primarchs, they have all also become Chaos Boys, and they all have their own special Chaos Legions, specializing in so many different things, just like the Adeptus Astartes, the Angels of Death, the regular Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines aren't a whole lot different than the regular Space Marines. They have the same armor, generally the same training and toughness.
Who's like the leader of that faction?
Kinds of things. And also a lot of the Primarchs have ascended into greater Is it greater demons?
Wait, what? Demon Primarchs? Whoa!
Horrifying man-demon hybrids.
What?
That are pretty awesome, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
really
what?
Cool. But them
Demons
and their associated
Primarchs.
legions they are a part of are all kind of going out there and causing a large ruckus for everyone else. Considering the raw strength and firepower of a legion of Space Marines, imagine that entire legion just converting to chaos and immediately fighting you. It's generally pretty horrifying. There's a lot of them, so I gotta write them down, but you've got the Emperor's Children with Primarch Fulgrim, loyal to Slaanesh. These people, they are some messed up people. They're just sensory overload,
bruh.
Drugs,
that a titty?
Tons of torture. And I think Fulgrim is a demon Primarch right now, and God, I am terrified to see what that man looks like, at least on the tabletop, because Emperor's children are not good people. You've got the Iron Warriors, which are kind of like opposite of the Imperial Fists, with Primarch Perturabo, I believe is his name. They're Chaos Undivided. They just kind of serve Chaos in a general aspect instead of choosing one of the four. But the Iron Warriors are big on
They look cool,
siege
too.
and fortification, and they're basically entirely against
like
the Imperial
defense?
Fists and a major rival. Perturabo, I believe, is also still alive, and I'm also very interested to see what he looks like, because Demon Primarchs are badass. You got the Night
Wait, there's
Lords
not
with Primarch.
there's not like official art for some of these. He says he's curious to see what they look like. They're not like official art.
Conrad Kurz. Conrad Kurz is dead, which is good because he's a sick fuck. But the Night
He's a
Lords are
sick
generally
fuck.
about terrorizing people and terrorism. They're generally about fear and.
Why are some of
You
these
got the
pictures
World
so
Eaters
fucking
with
fried?
Primarch Angron
Oh,
still
the
alive,
World
also
Eaters,
excited
the
to
World.
see.
Yeah. See, I knew it, bruh. The World Eaters, of course, turned into fucking chaos, bruh. Bro, what the hell?
Angron, if you think you've known an angry person, Angron is the angriest son of a bitch you will ever know. Angron removed parts of his brain that didn't make him angry. So he could
It's
be
just
angrier.
straight angry.
Angron, fucking mad. You've got the Death Guard.
There's no
with
official
Primarch
models for some of
Mortarion.
these.
They actually have
But the
their own
full-grown
special
model did
codex
come
and
out
their own
recently. I sent
major
it to
army
Jen.
on tabletop.
All right, bet. Let's see. Let's see what the full green art looking like.
Mortarion himself is actually one of the models, and look at him.
What? Wait, that looks so cool, bro. What? That looks so tough.
Look
How much
at
is that?
him. It's so cool looking. Of course, Nurgle based, obviously. So very
Oh yeah, with the wings and the eyes. Oh, bro, these shit
slow,
look
but
so
very
cool.
tanky. You got the Word Bearers with Primarch
Holy
Lorgar.
shit.
Lorgar
War
is, I believe,
Bears.
still alive. I don't know what's up with him at the current moment, but the Word Bearers are generally the people who caused all the major problems in the beginning. At least I blame them for it. They're little assholes. You got the Black Legion with Primarch Horus. Get
With Black-
fucked, nerd.
get
You got
fucked.
the Alpha Legion with Primarch Alfarius Omegon,
Various
Chaos.
Omegon is a name.
I think. And then
It costs 275. I mean, it looks pretty big. That's not that bad. That's not that bad. Okay. I mean, that's not terrible. I ain't gonna lie. I was expecting like 500, something like that.
finally, you've got the Thousand Sons with Primarch Magnus the Nerd. The Thousand Sons also have their own book, just like the Death Guard. Magnus is also a tabletop model. He
what
looks
the
super
hell?
Cool, as you can tell, and they're all super heavily
Zinch.
psyker and kind of Egyptian themed. They look pretty neat.
Oh, yeah,
But
Egyptian theme.
overall, with all of these Chaos Space Marine factions, you can play as a lot of different ones. But the main ones that you can really work at are standard Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, as well as the Death Guard and Thousand Sons, as they are the most fleshed out, especially on the tabletop at least. See this right here? This is a really good way to describe the Chaos Space Marines. What the thick-headed fools with their broken corpse of an emperor fail to understand is that not only can they never defeat us, but they cannot hide or flee or shield themselves from the triumph of chaos.
God
They are
damn.
finite and we are unbound, undivided. They must not err, or they shall fall to heresy. All who fall join our cause. Every imperial fool who dares to open his eyes is a willing recruit. They strive merely to hold back our fury and might, and it consumes them.
Damn.
Thus, you can see chaos is inevitable. We lurk not only beyond their grasp and at their gates, we lurk within the darkness of their souls, on the tip of their tongues, in their tortured dreams. We are them, but freed from the shackles of ignorance. We are them, grown strong, evolved. We are them, but so much more.
Damn, that's kind of tough. So
the saddest
tough.
part is they're mostly right. Chaos is basically
yeah.
unkillable. You could probably get rid of Space Marines, a decent amount, the Chaos Space Marines that is, but every soul that dies goes
just
to the
reborn?
warp. Every
Yeah, it's
Chaos soul will end up back in the warp. And depending on how hard you killed them, they will come back at some point. Every demon you banish will return at some point. Chaos is unstoppable. The warp is unending. And while maybe there is at some point some way to stop them somehow, the resources to do so, the requirements to do so are so far beyond the reaches of man and the other races at the current moment that really it's just an unstoppable force that just keeps on coming and is just barely being slowed. Chaos is by far the biggest threat. They are without number, their legions are everywhere, and yeah, they're pretty scary. So
cool.
I promise.
So
we're done
cool.
with humans now. Let's talk about some
Actually
Xenos.
cool. Xenos. Eldar.
So let's talk about the
It
Eldar,
don't
or also
matter.
known as the Eldari, which are a super hyper-specialized and very technologically advanced race of, well,
The
elf people.
elf.
They
yeah,
were as well responsible
Space elves.
for the creation of Slanesh, the newest
Creation
demon
of
god.
Slanesh?
How'd they do that?
Oh yeah, he did say that. I think.
Debauchery on a world-ending scale.
Debauchery,
See, back in the
in a
day, it was
way.
just Khorne, Tzeentch, and Nurgle. And the Eldar are very, very ancient, millions of years. These Eldar, however, have a bit of a...
Yeah, he mentioned Eldar like the beginning of that lore video we watched, like at the very beginning.
sensory problem.
I think.
You know,
Pretty sure.
every kind of pain or feeling that you have is a little bit amplified compared to the normal. However, with Eldar, as their race advanced so excessively and they became so self-reliant and everything became so easy, there was no requirement for food production anymore, there was no shortages, everything was basically done. Everyone was so comfortable, and that comfort breeded this weird sedation, and that sedation breeded the requirement for more and more debauchery.
Debauchery. Debauchery.
When everything
What
you
the
have
fuck?
can be
It
so
is that?
easily acquired, you will end up down this road of pure debauchery. All of the senses the Eldar had that were so powerful, things like feeling, happiness, sadness, and just evil and good, all needed to be satisfied and satiated. And the desire to satiate these senses grew more and more with worse and worse debauchery. It started off with things like sex and drugs becoming so much more rampant because these are the first things you generally turn to when requirements for living are so easily accessible. It would get to the point that made
What is
Sander
that?
Cohen in BioShock insane. Alright, this is the kind of debauchery it led to. It was constantly satisfying and satiating these sexual and sadistic or masochistic fantasies that only elevated and elevated, and this was species-wide. People started going down
What the
darker,
fuck?
more depraved, and more violent paths as time went on. However, some people didn't entirely take to that. Some of the Eldar were looking at this depraved species that they had become and said, no thanks for me, dog, I'm good. And they bailed. These are the Craftworld Eldar. They left on these
Craftworld
giant
Eldar.
continent-sized starships called Craftworlds. They believed
Did
in
he
learning
else?
the old ways of the Eldar and pushing away from this depravity and debauchery and going back to their main roots. And so they would segment themselves on these giant craft worlds far in the outer reaches of space. They even had this thing called the Webway. Remember what we mentioned about warp travel with the Imperium? Well, the Eldar had something way safer called a Webway. And the Eldar Webway is actually like a pocket dimension kind of thing. And in that pocket dimension, there were also more horrible, depraved groups and clans that would spend their time in there. And if you imagine the debauchery,
Freaky ass niggas, man. Freaky ass niggas.
was bad already, these were debauchery X10. So all of this continued, and it bloated until
Slanesh is born, I guess.
burst forth. All that emotion, all that mental, well, thought processes, I suppose. All
Now I think about it, I wonder how the other Chaos lords kind of like reacted when Slanesh was born.
all of this in such a condensed space. Don't forget, this is all being shot, all their souls as well, into the warp.
Was it like, were they like chilling in this world and they just felt like a presence? They felt like her spiritual pressure just show up or something? Like, what the fuck is that? Then they go like link up and meet with her and be like, yo, you cool? What's your story?
All this depravity right into the warp. So what happened? Boom. Slanesh was birthed and killed off 90% of the entire Eldar population.
What? Excuse me? What?
Untold trillions had their souls ripped from their bodies and their actual fleshy bodies devoured by Slanesh demons.
Holy
the
shit.
entirety of the Eldar race was eaten alive and their souls consumed to the Prince of Pleasure. All of them.
Oh my
got
goodness.
fucked up. It was so bad that it literally ripped a warp hole into the fabric of the materium called the Eye of Terror. That's literally this like quasi horrifying gateway
That leads
portal
to the
from
warp?
the materium and the immaterium right next to Cadia. And it is horrifying. So this Slaanesh, also known
that
as
art
She
is
Who
crazy.
First by the
Horny
Eldar,
old maid.
slaughtered the entire population except for a couple. Those in the craft worlds.
I was about to say,
were
what about the
actually
craft
not
worlds?
affected by this, as they
Oh,
were
okay.
so
They was
far
chilling.
in the reaches of the galaxy. That crazy crack, that birth of Slaanesh, only affected the ones in the center. So these craft world Eldar were able to escape, but Slaanesh got their sights on them. Every time an Eldar will die, their soul doesn't just pass into the warp naturally. It goes straight to Slaanesh.
Wait,
craft world or
what?
not. What about those people?
Just
in
because they're
Red
the same
Wing?
race?
Well, imagine that giant birth happening, but they were only able to just barely get a grasp onto you. Slaanesh was just barely able to hold on. These people are the Dark Eldar, or also known as the Drukhari. The Eldar population right now is so massively small. It is minuscule compared to any of the other most of the other populations in the universe. The Eldar are consistently
Damn, that art
issues
clean.
trying to get their population up because as their souls are constantly being hungered by from Slaanesh, they realize their entire species is doomed. And they understand it very well. Since the time of the fall, our race has been haunted by what we, in our reckless pursuit of hedonistic indulgence, gave birth to. Though our dreams once overturned worlds and quenched suns, we are now but fitful shadows clinging to the edge of existence. All the stars in the sky cannot blot out the hateful glare of the red moon's eye. The birthing place of the great enemy pulses with all the malice of a demon that is dreaming, casting its shadow over all we have ever done and all we ever shall. Every twisted strand of fate and casting of the runes leads me to this time, to this place, and it is clear that the final battle awaits me at the ancient Crone worlds, a conflict the likes of which has not been seen since the Monkai warred amongst themselves and the corpse of a seer fell to his traitorous son. Is coming, and all my steps lead towards it, no matter that I walk other paths. I see the stars stained red with the blood of the Monkai, and though their wars do not concern me, I would gladly let them destroy one another. I know that to avoid this fight is to condemn my race to inevitable doom, and though all I see is darkness, I know that I will not flinch from my destiny. And now let's talk about cute plastic models.
Bro,
Yay!
I'm not having a good time.
Craftworld
The first
Eldar.
playable race we have in
Monkai
the
equals
Eldar
Marky
are
equals
the
humans.
Craftworld Eldar and living in those.
Well, that's just fucked up. That's just
Starship
fucked
I
up.
mentioned
What the
earlier, and
fuck?
each of them have their own kind of craft world, almost like a Space Marine Legion. Each craft world is in itself its own special kind of group, and the Eldar themselves are very fast and rely a lot on trickery. They are squishy, a bit weak, but they're very in tune as psychers. Tons of psychers across the entire Eldar population, and their weaponry and abilities are fast and extremely hard-hitting, but of course rather fragile. Understanding an Eldar's brain is an exercise in futility.
Bro, those
They
rifles
are
look so
all over the
weird.
place in confusion and trickery on a whole
Like
galactic
lances.
scale. They fight weird, they think weirder, and Eldar, in their own right, really rely on this to keep their species alive. They need to think about deception and the strangeness of what they do if they truly want to not be immediately murdered and slaughtered wholesale thanks to their entirely small population. However, I must say that it seems like their population is getting slightly better. These craft worlds hold millions upon millions of people, and as they continually, reproduce and have their craft worlds expand, losing a few people in battle, while hurts a lot, they aren't really losing what's extremely precious to them. It's not like every single death means the death of their species. It seems like they're kind of on the upturn a little bit. They're still a doomed race being sucked into Slaanesh every time someone dies.
Oh, yeah.
But they are definitely doing a little bit better than they were before. Eldar are fast, cunning, and what they don't make up for in tankiness, they make up for in extremely advanced weaponry. They also call humans Monkai, which is something I mentioned earlier.
Okay, there it is, Monkai.
That is a derogatory slur for humans in the Warhammer world. Why is it called Monkai? Well, it's because you can't, in your game, call people
Monkeys.
On the tabletop, exactly what I said. Not very
Oh,
tanky,
they yellow and blue,
generally pretty
clean. What the
squishy,
fuck? Are they that
hit like
big?
trucks.
Oh, I wonder how much that model will cost. That big giant one, bro. I wonder how much that big giant one costs. You know, I guess you really can't call people monkeys. That would be kind of
Move at
fucked up.
Mach 5. Fast, hit hard, die fast. Exactly how it sounds. They've been good for a very long time, too. We bring only death and leave only carry-on. It is a message even a human can understand. Eldar.
Straight to it.
Drukari.
Damn
Let's
bad.
talk about the Dark
The
Eldar.
fuck? Bad as shit.
Episode of how fucked up is fucked up. That's fucked up.
So
Thumbnail.
those people I mentioned
Thumbnail.
in the webway, in the
1000%.
super deranged cults and the depraved people of the Eldar, in the webway, they didn't quite get a hold onto them. Slanesh like has them, but it has them on like by the pinky finger. And they're slowly being consumed by Slanesh, but they found out they can stave her off
So is it?
by doing Slanesh.
Does it mean like whispers in my ear or something? You know, like whispers. Ah, do this, do that, kind of thing.
things. The Dark Eldar
Holy
are
shit.
by far the worst, most horrifying, disgusting,
What?
depraved, and brutal
Oh, the
race
Eldar?
in all of
Oh,
Warhammer
all
40k.
races. No,
These are
no way. Well, like actual demons.
entirely a group of people whose full purpose to save their species from extinction, to go into planets, raid them, and take as many slaves as they possibly can
What?
to torture them for 1, 5, 10, 20, a million years, because that torture will keep them from dying. They look
What
very
the
BDSM
fuck?
style too. They definitely have a lot more spiky bits and they have a lot more of that kind of leathery black look to them. But let's example. Let's say you are an upstanding Imperial citizen, living life on a regular planet. You get invaded by the Necrons. The Necrons will shoot you with a deatomizer,
Yeah,
and you
laser.
will be destroyed in a millisecond, and that's it. Not the worst way to go. You are invaded by Chaos Marines or something. You take a bolter shot to the head or a chain sword across your stomach, and you get cut in half.
Yeah,
Painful,
that looks
but
so clean, bro. That,
not the
that
worst.
design.
The orcs arrive. They beat you to death. Hurts,
Okay.
but, you know, whatever. Tyranids, they eat you alive.
Ew, what the fuck?
The Dark Eldar. The Dark Eldar. This is going to get a little graphic. I apologize.
How graphic indeed. Well, let's see if I get grossed out.
You pray you die.
What?
You don't. You are instead taken as a human slave. Your life will be endless work and agony, 24/7. They will make sure you can't not die, as your pain satisfies them. They will hook you up to all manner of torture devices. They will inject pain-based like stimuli drugs
What?
directly
So
into
it's
your
even
nervous
worse?
system. They
Oh,
will
what?
slowly run razor blades across your skin.
What
They
the
will
fuck?
fillet you. and pull
No.
out your teeth and your fingernails.
Oh,
one by one.
God.
They will remove your appendages and your skin.
No.
And wait for it to grow back so they can do it again.
What?
They will murder and torture and use the R word. It rhymes with grape. Your
Yeah,
entire
I
family in
figured
front of
that.
you
I
and do the
figured
exact
that
same
would be
thing to them.
happening.
You
Oh,
yourself
bro.
will also be rhymes with grape anywhere and everywhere possible. And this will occur for 20 years until you are no longer satisfying to them. And then you will be contorted, crushed, and twisted into some form of trophy, a fleshy trophy, or a ring, or a couch, or a TV stand,
What?
or perhaps a wonderful hat, while you are, of course, still alive,
Bro.
and breathing. And you will become a
Okay. Well, basically what I expected demons to do, honestly, and y'all are just bad. That's crazy to assume that in this world, dark elves are the most fucked up in the universe. That's crazy.
moaning, fleshy trophy for eternity. And that is what happens when you are taken by the Dark Eldar. They are the most depraved, most horrifying race in all of 40k. They look the part, and they do it so they all don't die. They are literally forced to do this, because if they don't, Slanesh's grip will get harder, and they will have their souls pulled away. So long as they keep doing this, Slanesh is like, "You're doing good, man. You're doing
Okay.
solid. You keep that shit up, you elf-eared bastards." That's the Dark Eldar. That's the Drukhari. They are horrible. On the tabletop, they're actually kind of like Eldar, but more extreme. They are even squishier than the Eldar.
All
but
black,
they hit
look
generally
clean as
even
hell.
harder. Fast attacks, skirmishers, really quick, speedy, like get around them, do a lot of damage, get away kind of stuff. That's most of the Dark Eldar. Look up the definition of grim dark in a dictionary. You'll find a picture of the Dark Eldar. And Sev from Republic Commando. A quote from Mr. Vecht. We are the lords of despair, masters of terror. Dread and agony are our meat and wine, and they are plentiful indeed. Dark Eldar.
Dark
Some of the
Eldar.
Harlequins.
Okay, yeah, the Harlequins are like, okay, because I was wondering who the hell or what the hell these things were. In some of the art, it would just be like these things with a smile on their faces and shit. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? I thought that was like fan art or some shit.
Clowns.
What's the matter, Andy?
Nice, straightforward. Harlequins, clowns.
The Harlequins are a
Nice.
bizarre race of Eldar. They're demonic clown performers. They're like a weird mix of Sander Cohen from BioShock and Jin from League of Legends, but in a more clown.
I don't think
they're
I don't think I learned about Jin in League of Legends. I know a little bit of League lore, but I don't think I've seen or heard of Jin.
artists of death and perfecters of their craft. They do not belong to Craftworlds or any of the weird Drukhari people. They guard something called the Black Library, which is this giant tome of never-ending knowledge
Black
deep in the
Library?
heart of the Eldar Webway, and also guarded by their god named Kegorok, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He is the laughing god. But
I was about to say
it's
the god of
the
laughter or
Eldar's
something.
laughing god? And these are the Harlequins, the Harlequin clowns. These are Eldar clowns.
Oh.
Okay? So imagine the things that an Eldar, these depraved individuals, would find funny. And this is the god of that.
What?
It's
Like kicking a
horror
baby.
clown. These are
Probably.
gods of horror for us normal people. For them, they're like, oh, it's so funny. They're all dying horribly. Honk, honk. They're very
honk.
bizarre and difficult to describe. They've escaped the ruinous powers of Slaanesh somehow, but their main thing is guarding that Black Library. And the Harlequins just... They're demon clown performers. They're barely any models on the tabletop. They're
Nice.
good in melee.
Nice.
They're demon clowns.
Demon clowns.
I'm
Nice,
not
straightforward.
Sure. I got a quote. It is too easy for an Eldar to embrace the obscene virtues of chaos, for Slaanesh is nothing more than a manifestation of the Eldar mind in its most wild and unconstrained form. Human morality is meaningless to the Eldar, and to the dark side of the Eldar mind, all life is to be expended at a whim. Cruelty and generosity are but the impulse of a moment. Beauty and sensuality are virtues that can be expressed in bloodshed just as easily as in song. To an unfettered Eldar mind, there is neither sanity nor madness, but merely a wave of perfect existence fulfilled by its own savage momentum. They're very strange. The Harlequins, Drukhari, Eldar, they are an anomaly that make humans seem completely easy to understand in comparison. They range from rekindling their civilization to horrifying murder and also clowns. They're
Yeah,
all
that
over the
art is
place,
clean,
but
though.
honestly, they represent quite well and are rather interesting,
Igris?
especially with the whole Slaanesh murdering everyone bit. So, yeah, Eldar. Now,
What
bugs.
the fuck? Tyranids? Tyranids? Oh, God.
The Tyranids. Now, you want to talk something a lot more fun, a little more simple than all this crazy Eldar?
Yeah,
shenanigans?
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
talk the Tyranids. They're
Freaky looking bugs.
They look like Zerg.
Oh,
Hell yeah, they look
goodness.
like Zerg. You wanna know why it was
Xenomorphs.
like Zerg? Because they were actually supposed to be what Zerg were. Apparently, StarCraft was supposed to be a 40k game in the beginning, hence why they look so
Oh.
much like Eldar, Zerg, and the Imperium of Man. Like, kind of Space Marine-y, those Marines, huh? Look a
Oh,
little bit Space
I
Marine-y
see.
to me. Maybe. I don't know. You really fucked up on that one, Games Workshop, didn't ya? Tyranids are a giant infestation of unfathomable proportions.
God, the
These
designs
are
for these
giant,
joints is fucking
extremely
crazy scary,
bioadvanced,
man. They're fucking
hive-mind
terrifying.
organisms that are basically all about absorbing as much biomass as they possibly can to evolve and mutate to be extremely potent and powerful and kill and eat anything in their path. They are probably the least evil faction in all of 40k.
Least
because
evil?
all
They just do one
is
thing?
eat shit. They want to om the entire galaxy. They hang.
And I bet you their figures look crazy too.
Also, this Tyranid hive
for the
mind
tabletop.
has a presence in the warp. In fact, Tyranids in their own right have a massive presence in the warp. They have a thing called the shadow in the warp specifically, where when they are coming in to invade a planet, they have this weird ability to kind of cut off the warp on all the psychers on that planet. And how do you get help across the stars? Well, you need the warp, because you need that for interstellar travel. So with people unable to call for help,
Yeah, I was saying the
Tyranids,
fact that they're the least evil because they just, I don't know, they just do shit. I'm assuming they just do shit, and everybody else in this world is just fucked up,
these are
just that much
pickings.
fucked up.
And an entire giant Tyranid hive fleet comes out of orbit and just will massacre, absorbing all that biomass and turning them and all of their other Tyranids into even more advanced monsters. They come in so many varieties too.
Like
all
armored
based
too,
on
man.
What is important? Tiny little Ripper swarms for scouting and having little dudes eat people up, to the Ormagons, Termagons,
Like
Gene
hunters?
Stealers, all the way to
Gene
the Hive
Stealers?
Guard, the Exocrines, and the Swarm Lord, to Hive Tyrants, and
What the
giant
fuck?
battle
Hive
fleets,
Tyrants?
and even something as crazy as the Hierophant
What
Biotype.
the fuck is that? There's no way there's a figure of that on like the tabletop. Is that allowed on tabletop? There's no way. You can't do this. You can't do this. You know, you're not allowed. You can't do that.
The Tyranids come in all forms and sizes depending on what they require. They are extremely good.
Now I'm assuming like, what's the biggest tabletop figure, or who has like what faction has the biggest tabletop figure?
At anti-biological weaponry, there is no way you can plague them or blight them. They have extremely strong armor, carapaces and such. Tyranids are nigh.
They're
perfect
dope though,
organisms
bruh.
and are pretty spooky when it comes down to how they handle all of their genetic material. Keep feeding them, they'll keep evolving. They keep on creating new horrifying organisms to spread across the galaxy. And you want to know the most terrifying part of the Tyranids?
Yo, Apple
Very
Sack,
nice
appreciate
you're
the 3
celebrating
months.
The season by celebrating the downfall of mankind.
Hell
Good.
yeah.
Very good.
Hell yeah. Downfall of mankind. Love that shit. Appreciate the 3 months, man. Much love. Imperium of Man has the biggest with one of their Night Titans. Wait, really? Damn, I didn't think the Imperium of Man. I thought, like, probably be these guys. The Tyranids.
We might be surrounded. There have been like around 6 or 7 Tyranid hive fleets. Behemoth, Kronos, all these different kinds of hive fleets. And they've all arrived in the galaxy from different points. Different sections of the Milky Way galaxy have had different Tyranids come through. And that is horrifying, because as far as we know, we could just be surrounded on all sides by Tyranids. The only reason you may not hear a whole lot about Tyranids is because it's a little bit hard to have a bunch of story.
Was
off of-
Tyranids, the Tyranids was the things that was in the Warhammer episode in the Secret Level, right? That was killing.
one hive mind genocidal monsters. All these giant bugs swarming in, killing and eating everybody and evolving. Oh, I mean, as cool as there are, there's some cool characters, the Swarm Lord, Old One Eye. You can't really have a whole bunch of major character-based stories around them. As awesome
makes
as
sense.
they are, they're simple. They want to eat you. They want to eat you and absorb your
Zinch?
biomass. They are simple bugs. If you want something a little more complex, talk Gene Stealer cults.
I can have all the pot I want, I get around faster than walking, and wherever I need a seat, I can just sit on my balls.
Sit on my balls.
That can slowly infect
They were
themselves
demons,
into
okay.
different kinds of society. And by infecting them, they can rise up to where they all pray and believe in these regular humans, pray and believe into their Tyranid hive mind gods. And these brood lords, and I think they're called patriarchs, all can turn an entire world all based into Gene Stealers. And these are called Gene Stealer cults. An entire hive world of the Imperium can be turned into nothing but servants to the Tyranid masters just by infecting them and screwing with their genetic code a little bit. They also have this cool Mad Max look, which is really neat. They are definitely one of the bigger threats to the Imperium besides Chaos. I keep saying biggest threat to the Imperium. They're up there though. because you, dingus, stepped on a bug in middle school.
Gene, yeah.
There is a cancer eating at the Imperium. With each decade, it advances deeper, leaving drained, dead worlds in its wake. This horror, this abomination, has thought and purpose that functions on an unimaginable galactic scale. And all we can do is to try to stop the swarms of bioengineer monsters it unleashes upon us by instinct. We have given the horror a name to salvage our fears. We call it the Tyranid race. But if it is aware of us, it must know us as nothing but prey. Tyranids, they're cool. But are they as cool as the orcs?
The orcs. Hold on. Got a shit. Boy, I tell you, I'm gonna need some more goddamn wipes after that shit. Oh, Lord. It looked like Nurgle done threw up in my goddamn toilet. Oh, shit.
That means I'm super fast.
Orcs. Orcs. I fucking love orcs.
Oh, orcs do look dope in this universe. What is it? What the fuck? What is this? Whoa, you dead ass? What the fuck? This shit look crazy. Biotitan is 375. Manta costs 1875. Titan is anywhere from 2 to 5 because that model of the Titan isn't being made anymore and it's sort of rare. What the fuck? No, this shit look wild. No, but this shit look dope. I cop.
So, yes, the green monsters, the green tide, the green skins. These orcs, they are in fact
gotta be
a
racist.
race in 40k. The orcs are as exactly what you expect them. They have archaic weapons, they're big boys, they have axes, and they have got big old teeth, and they want to kill everything, and there are so many of them. The only reason they haven't taken over the entire galaxy is they can't stop murdering each other.
They can't
Orcs
stop
are
murdering
so cool.
each other.
Orcs don't have philosophy.
Pirate hat?
Orcs
Look at that
don't
guy.
have
Cool.
Existential crisis. What matters is who's the biggest orc. You listen to that guy because he the biggest orc. He big orc. Big orc knows best. You win through the power of imagination. Of all the races I have battled throughout the galaxy, the orc is the hardest to comprehend. They wage war with machines that should not work.
Should not work.
And are just as likely to slaughter each other as the enemy. How does one battle an enemy that defies all logic?
That's
As an
funny
orc,
as shit.
You're enjoying life. You're enjoying the life you're given. Your whole life and job and purpose is to get up and beat each other to death because you can. The biggest orc is the man who understands everything. He is the boss. And orcs have this really weird, like, big, dumb, stereotype British accent.
No, they
which
don't.
Is just hilarious to me.
No, they
Those
don't.
are orcs. You fight. You like to fight. Your whole purpose is to fight. You wage
They do not have
war
British
'cause you
accents.
Want to wage war. You got your boss over there, and you better listen to the boss, because if you don't listen to the boss will squish you and make you an example for the other orcs, and then you can't fight because orc dead. And orc dead can't fight because orc dead.
Because orc
Orcs,
dead.
They scrap together machines out of parts
Look at
don't
that
make any
ship.
sense, and because they
Look at that ship. The belief of friendship.
machine will run, it'll run. If that machine's out of gas, you're driving that machine with your fellow orcs, and the biggest orc is behind the wheel, and you run out of gas, some orc behind you is like, oh, Zog, we're out of gas. And the big orc is like, no, we're not. I filled the fucking gas tank up earlier. And all the other orcs are like, oh yeah, you did do that. And then you turn the fucking mech back on, and it works again. Does it have gas? Probably not, but it works. The
power of friendship, for real, man. Orcs sound funny as hell. Orcs sound dope as fuck.
They paint things purple because it's the sneakiest color. You want to know why? You ever seen a purple orc? Didn't fucking think so. Orcs are like ancient as hell. They're back in the Eldari time frame. But back then they were called orks, and they were much larger and scarier and far more intelligent. Now they're just orcs, and they're big, dumb, and they smack things. But they're pretty spooky. They're not very well armored, but they hit really hard, and it's called the Green Tide because there are so many orcs.
The Green
There are about
Tide
as
is
many
a
orcs as
tough
there are
name.
Tyranids. Maybe more. Who knows? But they keep on, you know, murdering each other, so it's not too bad of an issue. Orcs are entirely comic relief. Their stuff is slapped together that makes...
I'm about to say, I know I'm not tweaking. Are they shooting orcs out? And they're just like Superman posing, flying through the fucking sky?
Comic relief. Their stuff is slapped together that makes no sense. Their vehicles don't work the way they're supposed to, but they work.
They are, bro. Look at that.
It works because they imagine that it works. Orcs care only about who is the biggest orc, and they will follow the biggest orc.
Nah, bro. Orcs sound lit. Orcs sound so lit.
The biggest orc. And then when they go and they issue a wah
is a fight
in orc,
okay.
They murder everybody and everything in this giant tide of green orcs who are just excited to be hitting something. They don't care that they're hitting Eldar or the Imperium or Tau,
or each other
or
the green niggas.
They're just so they get to beat shit up. That's orcs. And on the tabletop, they are a total coin flip, and they're really fun. I have never met a salty orc player. I have never met someone who plays orcs and is just a bad.
So is there actually like when you're playing, bro? This shit looks so dope. Is there like an option or like I guess like a possibility of someone who's playing orcs, their orcs just turning on each other and start killing each other?
Guy or that guy. Orc players have this kind of fun to them because when you play them, you are completely submitting yourself to RNG.
RNG, yeah.
Guardsmen, Imperial Guardsmen, when they shoot, they roll a dice, and on a 4 up, they'll hit their target. They have a 50% chance.
50%.
Space
50.
Marines, pretty good. They hit on a 3 or higher because they're well trained. Adeptus Custodians, they hit on 2s because they're just super well trained. Orcs, they hit on a 5 or higher. If they roll a 6, they get to make another shot with
shit.
anything. From the dinkiest pistol to the biggest rocket launcher. It doesn't matter. Half of their stuff
I have
will
no idea
blow
what this
up on
means.
a whim. One of their medics, if you roll a 1 to heal someone, you fuck up your surgery and you just kill an orc. They're so wacky and silly. But the thing is if you roll well, you roll high, and you keep rolling high, you are going to crush people. And if you don't, you lose. I mean, that's what you get when you play orcs.
That's funny,
That's
man.
what happens when you play orc. It's a coin flip, which is why you can't be a salty bitch when you play orcs, because things won't go your way. It's just the roll of the dice. You're playing a dice game. But if you're going to have fun and you want to be stupid and you want to be silly, you're going to play some damn orcs.
Orcs sound the best to me, I'm not going to lie.
Side of the fun part of this, I'll start with the
Necrons. Necrons seem cool, but fun, though.
The Necrons are spooky, scary skeletons and very grimdark again. They have a much more fleshed out lore than before. Back in the day, they were just undead Egyptian space terminators, and they still look that way, but now they actually have a story. So way back in the day, you had the Necron tier. Kind of see a theme here: Eldari, Eldar, Krork, Orc, Necron, Necron tier. So the Necron tier were this race of generally kind of shitty people. Not because they were personally shitty, but because their lives were awful. They were ill-fated to a horrible existence of like radiation and a terrible planet they lived on, and everything just really sucked. Being a Necron tier was just really depressing. They really were looking for immortality. They were extremely reliant on the hope that they would eventually find the key to living forever and just stave off this horrible nature that they were thrust upon them, and therefore they could become the most dominant race in the galaxy. And they found this group. They're called the Old Ones. Imagine them kind of like the Forerunners in Halo or the Xel'Naga in StarCraft, right? These Old Ones were these strong, pretty much omnipotent beings, and they, of course, knew the key to immortality. So the Necrons went to them and said, please, show us your ways. And
show us the way.
Piss off.
Hell yeah.
They were a little humble about it, but they did not want to share.
Yeah, I remember that story, right? They told that story
the
in the beginning
the
of
Necrons, of course, took this
the lore video.
very well and waged war
against them, yeah.
Kind of under this united banner. The Necron different dynasties didn't really like each other, but under this one man, the Silent King, he thought the best way to unite his race was to do this giant war with the Old Ones out of spite for them keeping the secret of immortality to them. This was known as the War in Heaven.
Yeah, the
And this
War in
actually a
Heaven is
multi-stage
so
war.
tough.
Because during this War in Heaven, they discovered the Star Gods, a whole
It's like
new
Omen
race
in
of
Valorant.
people known as the Catan, or the Catan. These Star Gods were also very much like old ones, almost omnipotent beings, and they too had the key to immortality. And so the Necrons went to them and said, hey, can you help us fight off the old ones? Can you help us kill these old ones, you, the Catan? And the Catan said yes. And in fact, we can help provide you with the immortality you so desperately seek. So the Silent King of the Necrons decided to make a pact with the Catan to allow them to accept this generous gift of immortality upon them. But this, of course, had been a horrendous trap, and the Necrons were dragged in chains to this biotransference where their flesh was stripped from them, replaced with nothing but a metal hollow shell, as their souls
Terminators.
were ripped from their body and fed to the Catan. And the Catan fattened up. They got chonk on the souls of the Necrons, as this was their plan all
That
along.
looks
They
so tough.
consumed the flesh and souls of the Necron tier and turned them all into unwilling robotic slaves just to serve their will. And then with their newfounded Necron army, they pointed their guns at the old ones, and the Catan continued their domination of the stars and their genocide, complete and full genocide of these old ones. The old ones did their best to stave it off. They even created other races, the Eldari and the orks, to try to fight off the horrifying Necron army and the Catan above them. But there was absolutely no possible chance for them. And the old ones were absolutely extinguished
destroyed
across the galaxy. Their entire race completely removed. Full-on 100% genocide. However, during all this, the Catan, so just infatuated with their victory, started fighting each other for fun, for sport, and for small differences. Doesn't matter. The Catan, with these overpowered people, they're going to eventually hit each other at some point. And as they began just menially fighting each other, the Eldari and the orks actually started pushing on the Catan's borders a little bit, giving them a little bit of a run for their money. And as this continued, this is when the Silent King, who retained his consciousness, decided to leap into action and start a full-scale revolt against their Catan masters. And this revolt was bloody, as the entire Necron army was surged off to destroy these star gods. They were able to, just after suffering horrendous losses, were able to turn the tide of the war. And they took these Catan and they blasted them, because as these star gods are unkillable, they were able to break them into thousands of shards and entrap them in giant stasis vaults to now actually be slaves to the Necrons. And with the Necrons having the entirety of their old gods enslaved to them, they realized that soon their race was about to be attacked by the overcoming new races, the Eldari and the Orks. And so what they did is they retreated into giant stasis tombs in order to preserve their energy and their strength for when one day they would be reawakened and they would be able to rule the galaxy that was rightfully theirs. And then some dingus Adeptus Mechanicus guy with a green console, and now the Necrons are back, and they see all these primitive races on their lawns, and they think, get the fuck off. The Necrons are back, super advanced, and they are here to reclaim the galaxy that they so rightfully believe is theirs. Now, on a tabletop, they're a lot like that. Tons of undead Egyptian skeleton robots that when they die, they just get right back up because they keep on reanimating. Hard to kill, tons of crazy stuff. You can use the Catan themselves.
Oh, what the fuck? Look at that shit. That shit looks so cool.
The Necrons are one of the 3 major events in 40k.
Yeah, it sounds like a really big event. So much lore behind it.
Are all pretty substantial events, and the Necrons themselves are pretty dang cool as well. Here's a good quote from a wonderful Dawn of War game. Lucky creatures, as long last you have found the tranquility of death. I was like you once, clinging to life and blind to the truth. When I uncovered the truth, I too shuddered and paled with fear. Deep in these catacombs, I was remade. Here, my brethren slumbered for eons while the living grew like weed. My Lord knew this day would come. He had plans for us all. We would purge this world once more. So come, poor victims of life. We will grant you tranquility in these crypts. Kronos will be a tomb world once more. Necrons are also pretty smug. Trey's in the Infinite especially, a little dickhead.
Mr.
But
Steal Your
speaking
Girl.
of dickheads, last race. Let's talk.
Why you
the
say
Tau.
speaking of dickheads?
The exact formation of the Tau Empire is not entirely understood. However, a long time ago, maybe
Man,
thousands of
before
years,
we get to the Tau, man, there is a lot of cool races, or like the Chaos Demons is cool. I mean, the Chaos Space Marines is cool. Okay, Eldar, I'm not fucking with them. Eldar niggas, I'm not fucking with them. Tyranids sound cool. The orcs sound might be my favorite though.
years ago, in the 40k world, that is. Some Imperial navigation
Necrons are cool,
vessels
too.
were going around through different
Cool as fuck.
areas, and they saw a primitive race, blue people, smacking each other with sticks and stones. They thought, nah, dumb Xenos race, who gives a shit, and they bailed. Then this giant warp storm occurred right in that major area, unable to be breached. Then, once that warp storm 6,000 years later subsided, hello, those little sticks. Well, they decided to
What?
actually have no war of any kind,
Oh,
and
we're a
all
peaceful
just
race.
unite together under one flag of the Tau Empire. And now they have gigantic starships and Gundam robots and lasers
Holy
and
shit.
railguns and mechs, and they are here to ruin your day for the greater good.
What is
That
the greater
generally
good?
the Tau Empire. They have this kind of feeling of this homogenous group. All species can go underneath the banner of the greater good. The greater good is their idea of the fundamental increase and help of all. In fact, they are most likely the most like the Covenant in Halo.
Covenant
where
in
they
Halo.
have the
Oh,
overarching
yeah, I can see
prophets
that.
being the ethereals, who are actually kind of dicks and like
Yeah.
strings a little bit. But then you have all these different races directly underneath them, and they all work together in this big group as this large, foreboding race that tries to spread their weirdly pseudo-religious influence across the galaxy. The alien is not intrinsically evil. Do not hate him. Pity him, his ignorance. Seek to understand his differences and equate him with his inadequacies. Only then will he accept his place in the greater good. That is generally the Tau. And if you're kind of wondering like what they're mainly
They sound quite boring.
big shtick is, well, they're all about big robots and mechs. They have
Okay, that's pretty
laser
cool.
rifles and rail guns. They got giant mechs with tons of missile pods and heavy rail rifles and rail guns and burst cannons and ion accelerators and void shields and all this stuff. And
That
that
sounds pretty
is
cool.
generally what the Tau's all about. But you're probably thinking, Bricky, this doesn't sound that evil.
Yeah, you called them
It
dickheads.
doesn't sound very grim, dark Warhammer. And you'd be right. The Tau Empire really don't have that much of a horrifying, grim, dark style like everybody
Oh,
else.
look at
They're
that.
much more younger, new age thing. In fact, they're probably a lot less evil and a lot even better than they are now back in the day, because they liked having like that good guy faction. But a lot of us who really like the dark, depressing style of Warhammer didn't really like it
Yeah.
that much. So, see, the Tau get a lot of hate, and a lot of that
Because they're
hate
good.
isn't necessarily unjustified. It's mainly from a tabletop perspective, but as you can see from all the visuals I've shown you recently, they don't really fit in the 40k universe very well. They lack that super dark, dramatic, kind of high gothic level the Imperium has.
It's crazy.
They don't have
They
the
get hated
weird
on for being good. They get hated on for being good people.
kind of like grungy stuff that Chaos or say the Orks do, and the Necrons and the Eldar have their own specific style as well. The Tau really do look like something out of Gundam, and while it isn't necessarily a bad thing, it does definitely not fit too well. There's that. There's also the tabletop problem. In tabletop, Tau are horrible at melee combat, but exceptionally good
At
at
range?
range combat.
Oh, so they be lighting
blast
niggas up.
everyone
They be
from
lighting
really
lighting
far
niggas
away.
up.
They have a million rules to make it so that it's nearly impossible for
you to get close?
to get into melee combat. So
yeah.
it basically just
They be
forces you to
spamming,
fall
bruh. They be
the
spamming.
game into one specific gameplay style, which is gun to gun. And if you're doing gun to gun, they're going to win every time because they're the Tau, and the Tau are really damn good at shooting. So it's one of those things that make the Tau generally rather hated, and a lot of different reasons for that.
They'd be straight
both
zoned in the
style and
field,
such.
man.
But this is actually one of the things I wanted to end this video with, is that the Tau, while they have their issues, you should not be discouraged from playing them. I'll make plenty of Tau weeaboo jokes, of course I will, but it's all generally in good fun. Anyone who legitimately doesn't want you to play a faction is an idiot, and you shouldn't be giving
Hell
them the
yeah,
time of
play
day.
who you want.
You pick what you think is cool.
I'm gonna play the
and what
orks.
you like. In Warhammer,
Get up in that
especially now,
ass.
factions get better and they get worse. They grow and then they fall. You should only be playing what you think.
I wonder what the meta is
cool.
right now.
You like the look, you like the models.
I know there's
If
a
you're
meta.
talking tabletop, that is what you should be going for every time, is what you think is badass, because things change all the time. But the universe of Warhammer has so much going for it. Every faction has something interesting, every character has a story, and there's a million stories to be told. The universe is vast and exciting, and while it is dark, depressing, and horrible, that is the damn charm. And out of everything I've told you in these two videos, if anything you could take away is the reason why so many of us are so into this series and why we like it so much. Because with so much variety, such an expansive universe, and so much that can be done,
Yeah, I'm gonna say so much lore.
you can find yourself having
Shit, now I can't wait to go in depth. I'm wait to these three major things, the events in the Warhammer universe. I can't wait to watch in depth videos of every single thing that happened, that took place. What's the name? The horror stuff, the Necron stuff, and the Eldar, the fall of Eldar. So,
having a pretty great time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it has been informative.
Amazing
to you.
video.
If you'd like to see more of me, Bricky, we have twitch.tv/Bricky for my streams. You
it would have been dope if I got the 161,000th like, but
have
yeah,
my
it's fine.
merchandise site, in which I was wearing all of my merch, but underneath
Now you let that merch fire.
this, because I had to wear this so it wasn't black or white for the green screen, which is a little unfortunate, but it's fine. If you'd like to see merch, it is in the description. Also, if you'd like to support me on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Bricky for more videos like this, then that
There'll
would
be
also be
video, man.
wonderful. So Twitch.
That'll be a video. I wonder which Birky video we'll watch next. Every single Warhammer Space Marine Legion in a nutshell? Is that army to start with? Hope you guys enjoy. Smash like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know down in the comment section what's the next Warhammer 40k video I should check out. We'll catch you guys later.